Money Magicians. How are you? Welcome to another Money Magic Podcast. My guest today is Pascaline Nkwe, and she is absolutely fantastic, right? And she is a Money Magic student, so a client, but she also has a concierge company. She lives in the United Arab Emirates, originally from South Africa, and has launched this company where she provides concierge services to people. I actually know what a concierge is because I've used her services planning a retreat before, and she was phenomenal. It's just incredible to have someone on the other end of the world, and we're planning a retreat in a different country where neither one of us have lived before. It's phenomenal. So welcome, Pascaline. Thank you for saying yes to this interview.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to actually be explaining a little bit and to spend a little bit of time with you. So I am looking forward.
Wow. So, Pascaline, before we start, please just tell us who you are as a soul. How would you define yourself as a soul? And what do you do for a living?
So as you mentioned, I'm from SA. I'm Rustenburg, Botswana. But obviously, like most of us, you pack your bags and move to Joburg. After Joburg, then came and moved to Dubai. I think as a soul, I'm a server, to be honest. Yeah. I'm a server of what different kinds of things. There is no specific, I cannot be specific, but I know for sure, without a doubt, yeah, that I'm a server.
I love that. Oh, I love that. So if money, if an alien had to come to planet Earth, how would you define money? What would you tell them is money?
So from my experience, I think within the past couple of years, it has changed. So right now, I'm realizing now more than ever that I think money is a shadow of our internal values. I think it enhances or maybe brings to the surface who you really are. That's how I got to understand money. Yeah, that's in the most simplest way. That's what how I can explain it or how I understand it. And I'm saying that because if you had asked me what money is a couple of years ago, I would have said, money is maybe 7 years ago, I would have said money is a root of all evil, like how I was taught, and there's a song to it. But then I realized, no, it's not. This is why I was running away from money so much, because everybody around me was saying it's evil, but no, it's not. It's a good thing, you know? So it just brings up all your elements into the surface, so to say. Yeah. So if you have weak boundaries, you will get to see it when you have money.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a people pleaser, you'll get to see it when you have money. So yeah, it allows us really to look within. Yeah, it just brings out all your different values.
I really, really love that. So, I mean, we can't just leave it at there. My next question is going to be, how has your relationship with money evolved over time for you to get to this point? What has happened for you to get to this point where you start to see money as a reflection of your internal values?
So I've always liked books, but I think I discovered wealthy money during COVID, right? And I think with COVID, like everybody else, it really gave us time to sit and get to figure out who am I? What can I do? What is it that I like, apart from everything else that was closed? So we kept ourselves busy with whatever was around us. So everybody was anxious about money. Well, I was anxious about money. So what did it do? It brought my anxiety onto the surface. What are you anxious about? Is it your mindset about money, or is it your mindset or the values that you actually have? So with me, I discovered you because I was reading a certain book of what I was feeling or what I was going through. So that book, I don't remember a certain word or certain phrase that came up within a book. And then I started Googling because I wanted to know a little bit more. Then I came across Wealthy Money because it was more about nervous system and all of that and how to regulate all of that. So it brought me into searching within. When I started Wealthy Money, I thought it was about money, but most of it doesn't necessarily have to do with money. It has to do, really doesn't. It has to do with how am I reacting in certain situations? How am I handling me? Or how am I finding comfort in whatever I'm finding comfort in? And why am I focusing on this certain thing for comfort? You know, it brought up so many things, and then I started doing the work, and the work never ends. So yeah, that's my relationship with money. That's how I came across wanting to change my relationship with money, because again, there was a need for money, COVID, and it brought a whole lot of other things onto the surface. So yeah, it's either whether I have it or not, those things will still show up. So yeah, I keep saying it's really hardly about money, but money makes its way, because then you get to realize, where am I spending? Am I spending according to my values, or am I spending according to all these other things that I need to fix?
I really, really love that. And you
Yeah.
know, you literally just reminded me that we had COVID. This is literally what I feel happens with a lot of us. You've just highlighted something so profound, is that I completely forget about COVID so often. And it's such a collective trauma for all of us. But this is what often happens with a lot of traumatic things as people, and especially around money, is that we just keep it moving because we're like, oh, I'm fine now, you know? But we forget that it happens. So thank you for sharing that. My next question is to say, when you started doing the MoneyMagic course, I remember, what were some of your aha moments that you started to realize that, wait, this is something that I didn't know, and it's a trauma? And how did it change your view of trauma and your understanding of trauma, especially around money?
I remember realizing that I'm very scared of money. That was a shock, considering that I'm in an industry where cash exchange happens a lot, but having to hold cash was very nerve-wracking for me, because I think it tied down with when I was a kid, your mom has a stack of money, or your dad has a stack of money. That money will disappear very quickly because everybody sees that you have money, and it's Peg, give me, I want to do this, I want to do that. Now things start coming from different ends because now they're seeing this stack. Then you realize, oh snap, I had this money, but where did it go? I forgot to do this and this for myself. So it brought that into the surface, that even in my adulthood, I was very much afraid then to have a whole stack of money, or even just let money just sit in my bank account and just watch it and watch it accumulate. That wasn't happening. It was oh, you have this much money, okay, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. Whether you're calling your cousin from wherever and saying, hey, I just want to send you something. Hey, because I just couldn't, because it was nerve-wracking, So it was like, just get rid of it. Once you get rid of it and you don't have anything, you won't hear from anyone, because then you don't have. Now there's peace around you because you don't have anything to give anymore. So that was the most shocking part for me. Even thinking about it now, speaking about it now, was like, geez, what the hell? I remember even before moving here, I was working for a certain hotel, and then I got another job at a certain hotel that was paying double. But because I wasn't used to having so much money, it wasn't feeling safe, because I subconsciously, it was probably a thing of, now you're going to need to pay this for that person. Now you're going to need to take over DSTV. Now you're going to need to be taking over this and this. All sorts of things were just coming up, that I quit that job and went back to the previous one, because the new one, I found it very chaotic, but it wasn't the chaos. It was the chaos within my mind. Then I went back to what I know, and going back into the comfort of struggle, because I just couldn't handle my nervous system didn't even know what to do with itself. So yeah, I am right now in a different state. I need to sit with it. If it's a lot, just don't do anything drastic. Just feel how it is to have enough, like, just go with it and get used to it. Nobody's going to take it away from you. It's yours. You deserve it. You do whatever you wish with it, but don't be stupid. So it feels uncomfortable, yes, but it's a constant practice until it feels comfortable enough to say, okay, cool. You don't need to get rid of it. There's nothing happening. Like, nobody's going to kill you. Nobody's going to get you. Just sit with it. At least get to do things that you enjoy, but in moderation. But it's a lot. It still feels uncomfortable when somebody's like, hey, can I have this and this? You have to set a boundary and say, you know what? I can only just give you this much, or maybe not this time around. Maybe when you do next month, I'll put you in my budget. If it allows me, I will give you. So I'm it's a continuous journey. I haven't arrived, but I don't think I ever will, because it's a continuous thing. It's a continuous practice that I need to do, because it was very foreign, So, and I think it has also a lot to do with black tax. It's once you leave, once you leave and go live in a different country, there's this illusion in people's heads that now you have made it, which isn't necessarily true, because it's a different currency. Things are completely different. What I was spending back home for I don't know, transport, compared to here, it's completely different. So if you're taking my salary or whatever I'm making and converting into my currency back home, of course it will look like a lot, but you don't know the living expenses of this country. So maybe I'm making way less than what I was back home. So this is what people, or this is what I needed to explain to family, so that they understand how it is, so that there isn't any resentment. There's more understanding, but there's a lot of explanation that you need to do. But yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, because I resonate. I arrived in the UAE for the first time ever in 2017. I packed up my bags from South Korea. I was like, I'm gonna go chill in Dubai until I find a job and see how it goes. thinking it's like every other country, because at this point I had quit wealthy money.
Yeah.
I thank the UAE for making me see the light. I got there, firstly, I realized it's not energetically my kind of place within a few days.
It's fast
But
paced.
I was like, okay, give it some time. The more time I gave it, a whole month. And I was like, I had budgeted like like most countries I go to, that, it's expensive, but I won't spend more than 50K, 50,000 Rand, which is about maybe $3,000 in that month, in terms of just like going around, doing things. Literally ended up spending double that amount of money.
Yeah.
The UAE is insanely expensive,
Yeah.
And I ended up doing talks there and being booked for some things. But what I learned was so fascinating, because people would come up to me and say they leave the UAE with more debt than they came with. And I was like, wow, okay, that makes a lot of sense, guys. There's so many reasons for why this happens, but it's a thing out there. So if you don't know your finances, it can really be a real problem in the long run.
If you
So
go with if you go with the flow here, then it will be a problem for you.
yeah,
Focused.
the country is very cleverly designed. I think I'll give it that, because most of the money stays in the UAE, right? And I think most of us are under the impression that if I earn more, then suddenly, automatically, I will save more. But that's not what often happens, because there's such a thing as lifestyle creep. And you are in a country where wealth is in your face. So you've got the fabulous brands, the cars, the everything. If you do not know your core values and why you're there, you can really, really go to town, because there's so much to feed your every luxury fantasy. Every luxury fantasy you have is right at your doorstep. And I think that's what makes it so fascinating.
It is. It is. When I moved here and would ask the African guys that I used to work with how long they've been in the UAE, they'd say 5-7 years. And I would be very shocked, to be honest. I would be very shocked and not understand what they have been doing, what is happening, why are you here for so long? Because my plan was to be here for 2 years. I'm on my 5th year now, but what I figured very quickly, and because I think with me, I've never really gone with the flow. I don't go with the wind. This is what I want to do, and great. And I think that has worked out for me to really keep it focused. Just know why you're here. Don't be with the brunch crew if you can't be affording to go to brunch every other weekend. Or don't get to be out every night because you don't want to be alone. I think with me, I've mastered enjoying the company of my own, or rather not my own, but visiting friends at their houses is a normal thing. You don't need to be out all the time, but it does get a bit blurry every now and again, because during the summer, there's summer sale. During winter, there's winter sale, so you don't get to run away from it. But if you don't know what it is, if you don't have hobbies, if you don't get to really get to spend according to the importance of how important things are to you, then yes, you will creep into the lifestyle thing that's happening here, because it's everywhere, it's in your face. But the most smartest thing that they did is you work here, you earn your money, and you leave your money here.
Sorry guys, if you're hearing the background I apologize. That is my his neighbor. They did give warning, and there was no noise at all for like days, and then suddenly they were like sometime this week, and right as we're recording the podcast, as things happen.
Yeah.
So, wow, I think that's so true about various countries I've seen. You know, I worked on a cruise line and the same thing happened. And I fell victim to that on the cruise line. That was when I would earn and I would spend. As soon as we were on shore, hit the Bahamas, hit Miami, I was there. I was spending on every luxury brand. And it was a thing, we all did it in the cruise line, you know? And it's just, we normalized it. And I think we normalized it because we didn't know better. So my thing is to ask you, what is your process? What are some lessons you use from either the course and also just on yourself, from your own work, I guess, that you use to basically regulate your nervous system as the sales are happening and everybody is having a good time? And you also have to tell family members, because the truth is, a lot of family members really do subscribe to that, well, if you've gone to Dubai, the streets are literally lined with gold, you know? And it doesn't mean that people are showcasing the videos that they showcase of Dubai and what it looks like. So how do you regulate your nervous system to have these uncomfortable conversations?
It's having to really be honest with myself. It's having to really figure out what is the purpose of the conversation you're going to have with your mom. It's for her to understand body-wise, like having to look at your statement before you get paid, or having to really do a budget before you get paid works. Having to look at your statement at the end of the month to say, yo, you know what, last month I went crazy on this. Next month, let me rather just ease off onto this. That keeps you, it really helps you to plan ahead. Because what I used to do is I never wanted to look at how I'm spending my money. I was like, you know what, I want this, I'm going to get it. And when money runs out, I'll be like, okay, cool, I'll wait for my next pay, you know? But during this waiting for my next pay, it would be a whole lot of anxiety, would be a whole lot of, yo, I hope there won't be any emergency. I hope there won't be any of this. So what I've learned is sit, have a look at your bank statement, have a look at where your money is going, really get to be present and spend according to your values. That has helped me so much. Because it's I have a look at my statement and then I'm like, yo, I spend a whole lot on food. Am I a foodie though? Yes, I am. That brings me so much pleasure. I don't want to cut it out. I'm watching my weight, yes, but am I okay with spending money on food? Yeah, I'm fine. Self-care, whether it's me buying products for my face or buying or booking myself into a massage, is there guilt in that? Yes, there is. But is that making you feel a little bit better? Does it contribute to my mental health? 1,000%. This is how I spend time on my own. And am I going to feel a lot better if I come back from a relaxing hammam Turkish bath? Yes, it will. Me having to go spend money on taxis, is this something that you would like to do? Maybe not. I don't need to be gallivanting about town. So ease off on taxi fares, you know. You don't need to go here and there and all these places. So ease off on that, because that's a whole lot. So I've learned to do that and look at where's my money going. All these different subscriptions that when you do count the entire amount, the small little amounts, you get to realize, snap, these $5 that you're paying for, are you really using this app? Are you developing something and making use of this app? No, maybe not right now. Then you can cancel the subscription. When you want to use this app for your next business or whatever else, then you can download it, you know? So it's really having to look at as uncomfortable as it is. We're busy right now with the womb work and everything else with Numisa, which is a different thing, and we're having to sit also with the bank account. So the having to sit and look at your expenses on a monthly, yes, your value spending goes up and down. It's not the same it's not the same every month, but at least you have an idea. If you're changing, maybe your values are also changing, but having to be present on how I'm spending money, where I'm spending money, that has been a huge change. So having to plan prior on what's happening next month with the money I have, and also being very intentional, that is a game changer. Yeah, it's a game changer. Like I've learned, I think, from your videos, but mostly also from Ngumisa, to say, if you're going to meet up with a friend and you say, hey, friend, we're meeting up for coffee, you need to be showing up for that coffee, with that friend. You can't just decide to say, hey, I'm canceling, I'm not coming, I don't feel like it. It's the same with money. There's intention there. If you're saying, okay, cool, money, show up from wherever you want to show up, with whoever or however, but this is what I want to do with this amount. Then when it shows up, you do what you say you're going to do with that amount. So I think having to watch that and seeing it happen and witnessing myself doing it, it's so rewarding. It becomes a little bit fun. It becomes a little bit playful at times. Although there are other months where you're like, yeah, look, I am not in the mood for anything, or this month, it's just like my mind is on a whole nother level. Everything just feels a little bit chaotic. It's okay. It's not going to be roses all the way, but also being intentional. That I've seen in bits and pieces, although I'm not doing it with huge amounts because there is still a little bit of fear, but it's a muscle, I guess, that I need to keep growing. But it's very playful. It's becoming a little bit fun, So the kid in me, the innocence in me is coming out, which is it's fascinating when you get to see some changes that used to bother you so much. But again, it's having to keep doing the work, I think. It's having to do the work. So no matter how I've been in and out of it, the moment I come back, something shifts. Something shifts, and then I'm like, okay, cool, let's do this. So it's great. These I think more than 6 months, I think for a good 8 months, I've been like, okay, let's do it. And the amount of change that I've seen for 3 months being consistent, listen, I'm excited. I'm excited for things that are unfolding. I'm excited on how things are falling into place. And I'm like, is this me? Like, what is going on? Like, I don't know how else to explain it to people that are not familiar with doing the work. Because it's big things. It's big things that are shifting for me, and having to witness it, or having to look at what I used to do or how I used to feel with certain situations 3-4 months ago, and I am in awe. So yeah.
I think this is the power of the work. So what Pascaline just described, guys, for those of you that are not in my courses, she just described the bank account challenge in depth. So it's the bank account challenge that she has described. But I'm just interested, before we move on because I want to talk about how, as you've been doing this work, you've also started a business, right? And I can see how giving away money and not having boundaries would make it scary to start a business, because what if the business succeeds? And you have to market the business. And again comes the thing where our families see us running a business, and you're constantly running a business, so they assume somehow you must have money.
Yes. Yeah.
How what is that process like of starting a business when you had some of this fear? Although it does sound like you've been working through it, and then you've been working with Mumisa. So guys, if you don't know who Mumisa is, she is Wealthy Money's assistant coach. So she does one-on-one coaching as well. And I know all about the clients that she has. I don't know what you guys discuss at
Yes,
all,
for sure.
but she because it's under wealthy money, right? So,
Yeah.
but it's very, very interesting to hear. So what was that process like of starting a business? Because I think so many people listening to this may be there, and you have to be visible when you start a business.
Yeah. So you obviously, when you start a business, you are excited about what you're about to start, right? But the fear of having to be visible everywhere was always in the back of my mind. But I think I was at a point where I was like, yay, let's go, let's do it. There wasn't any fear of being visible. But honestly, when it comes to my family and having to explain and all of that, I couldn't necessarily explain what business, because also they don't understand what I was doing in hotels. For them, they just know I work in hotels, but what a concierge is and the concept of concierge, that's way too much. So even with friends, this very same. But when I started with the business and joined a friend of mine who I started with, it was a thing of, okay, guys, I am going to go into the journey of entrepreneurship. I'm going to start this. So please bear with me. I'm not so sure how well it's going to go, but I will not be sending money like I normally would, because there won't be any income that is coming in. I'm not so sure on how the business is going to be coming. So just bear with me for 1 year. Just I need your support. But in terms of them having to understand the business, what it needs and all of that, that is another story. But I walked into entrepreneurship and I was excited, I think, for the first 3-5 months, having to be out there, be on social media, be on LinkedIn and say, hey, but then it completely, I disappeared a little bit, because then the invisibility just caught up with me, you know? But within that, what I'm really good at is keeping in contact with existing, whether it's ex-colleagues or suppliers I used to work with from hotels, having to get in touch with new vendors and all of that, phone calls, although posting and be in front of the camera, taking pictures and all of that, I was not up to it. Posting and telling people about my day, because we get into very fascinating things and fascinating requests that I sometimes wish we could record and show. But again, it has to do with the client's privacy and all of that. So I had to learn in still being visible, but not in people's faces. So whether it's me on a phone call, whether it's me on an email, that helped out a lot, because there is still a voice. You're still hearing me. I'm still having to say, hey, I'm out there, but I just couldn't post. I was for a couple of months, I had frozen, when it comes to sharing the type of work I do. It wasn't very easy for me to share apart from if a client is in front of me, that's a different story. But having to be confident enough to say, yeah, I'm in lifestyle management and this is what I do, da 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 da. I was very nervous because what if I make it? Because with Dubai, you're so supported, and also because with the concierge space around the UAE, because of the hotels I used to work in, everybody knows this Black girl, everybody knows the face of this girl. So it was very easy to be like, okay, great, let's support. But I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready to be onto a magazine to say, okay, let's go marketing. We didn't do any marketing. It was just by word of mouth. But I think it's also because with word of mouth, what we realized what worked for us was because we are a niche, business, it has to do with a word of mouth, who knows who, there's this company, this is what they do. So this is how we are growing authentically, which is quite great. But I was not ready to be in social medias and all of that. But I had to get out of it very quickly. I had to be comfortable with, what if it does work out? What are you going to do now? So I had to really get to sit and envision having to work with big brands, work with big names, and still not shrink myself. Because at the end of the day, when you realize these big brands are individuals as well, just like you and I. So I constantly need to remind myself that don't go with, hey, I'm working with this big title. Address people by name to get to know them as individuals. So I think that worked out pretty, it helped out a lot, because I had to get out of, he's a huge person, he's on TV, oh my gosh, I used to idolize this person when I was a kid, to no, this is a father, this is a husband, this is somebody who also has needs, because I needed to remember that I'm serving them as their concierge. I'm serving them as their lifestyle management company. They have individual needs, so it's not only just a brand. So that helped out a lot, but it's something that I'm still struggling with, to be honest. So it's what if you are good enough? What if you make it? What if it happens that the company does well? What then? So I needed to sit with that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's very, very powerful. Because I think that the thing that most people tend to think is that, like, they focus more on what if they fail. Most people think that that's why people do the work and get coaching. But I found that a lot of my clients, it's equally, wow, what if I succeed? And then how do I deal with that success? How do I deal with the pressures? How do I explain to people? So thank you for sharing that. My other thing is to say, so then you launch the business and things are moving forward. Can you tell us what a concierge is before we even get into what it's like running a business and the money stories that you have to work with, personal and business? But what is a concierge? And I love the strange request. I am making a request that I think is a little out of the ordinary for you for the next few months that I want to work with you on. But yeah. How do people work with a concierge? What do you do? And what requests can you make?
So I'm breaking it down in two parts as an individual working for a hotel, or also as a company, lifestyle management. So concierge is somebody back in the day, years, many moons ago. A concierge in the English world was a key keeper. It was somebody that was, if you're saying I have a concierge, it was somebody that has the keys to your house, that makes sure that everything is running smoothly when you're away and all of that. But now fast forward to the what a concierge is at the moment. So concierge is, you get into a hotel and they tell you, oh, the concierge will help you. So you basically come in and you don't know, hey, where can I go for today? I'm looking for this type of experience. And then after this experience, I want to find myself in this type of situation and so and so. Can you help me out? I'm that person that you come to in a hotel to say, yes, sure, I can help you. This is the place where you need to go. And this is what they have. This is who you will find. And I get to call that person that they will find and make sure that you're taken care of. For instance, for a restaurant, just something very simple as a restaurant. I am not a travel agent. What a travel agent will do is, hi, I'm looking to book, let's say I'm looking to book a restaurant at a French restaurant. Okay, great. Receptionist or travel agent picks up the phone. How many of you? 2 people. Okay, great. At what time? At 7. They'll book that for you and then done. Hi, we've booked what you requested. For concierge is, yes, sure. Yes, sure. I will book this for you. Excuse me, because my phone just rang. Yes, sure. I will book this for you. So it's us having to really get to find out what type of where would you like to sit, because you don't want to find yourself in the middle of a restaurant where everybody's conversating. Maybe you're on a date. We're going to find you a table at a corner restaurant, maybe with an amazing view where you get to have where it's next to a window. You know, do you speak English or do you speak Russian or do you speak Arabic? Maybe we make sure that we find the waiter that's serving you speaks the very same language with you. If you happen to be with an entire family and you're dining, maybe one person is the one that speaks English. And then we'll make sure that that one person that speaks English is the one that is conversating with the waiter that speaks English as well. Or maybe you are celebrating something amazing. It's a birthday. You're not just going to get a happy birthday or like they sing for you at Spur or whatever else. It's hey, what kind of dessert is their favorite, so that we surprise them with that dessert, and it's personalized, it's written your name. Yes, it's something small, but it really makes a huge difference. And if we do book, we book with the manager. They need to really acknowledge you when you enter. Hi, my name is Pascaline. I will be taking good care of you. Or hi, my name is Precious. Pascaline said I must take good care of you. If you need anything, I am here. And that person comes in and out having to check if everything is okay. It's having to really if you're booking transport going to the airport, I'm not just going to book for you transport going to the airport. I, as a concierge, need to let you know, hey, I would suggest you leave your hotel at this time so that you make it on time to the airport. Leave at this time because there's so much traffic around the time that you're leaving, and it gives you much more room or much more time to get to the airport at the right time and things like that. So it's much more detailed with a concierge. And then with lifestyle management, it's on a broader scale. It's a company having to really take care of your lifestyle, as silly as it sounds. So it's whether we get you in contact with a real estate agent from our ecosystem if you want to book property. So like with Dubai, everybody's a real estate. So you never really know who's trustworthy, who do you work with, who's who's really great at what they do and things like that. So we get to work with really trusted suppliers, vendors, and these are people that we go to or we send our clients to when they need certain things. It's us having to really be safe, feel safe around us to say, hey guys, I'm traveling to Spain. Do you guys have a partner that you work with in Spain that can assist me with this and this and this? Because if we're doing stuff right here where you stay, of of course you want the very same service where you travel. So it really goes with us having to connect you to so-and-so. If your child is also moving here into the city, or your entire family is moving into the city, and you want us to help you with the moving, it has to do with us having to find out what curriculum is your child studying, so that we say, hey, these are the schools that you have options, your daughter has options to go to because of the curriculum. And we get to do appointments for you so that you visit the schools, chat to the teachers, look at the facilities, what amenities they have. So it's things like that. It's a whole, it's an entire thing when they're saying lifestyle, you know? So we need to be very mindful of your lifestyle. If you're the type of person that likes going to bed at 9, we cannot suggest that we book you a reservation at 7 when you have to be in bed by 9. So it's things that we need to be mindful of. If you have a husband, sorry to say, but this is reality. If you have a husband and you have a girlfriend, there's different requests that we also get to somewhat be mindful of. You know, it has to do with privacy a lot. It has to do with having to know the difference between the two. It very much attention to detail. So yeah, it's people that really, I don't want to say don't care about money, but really care way much more about time than money. So my pace is very different, or our pace is very different on how we deliver. So yeah, that's what a concierge or lifestyle management is in a nutshell. I know it's a lot of explanation, but yeah.
No, I love it. I definitely, so I'll just give a short blurb. I've worked with Pascaline, right? And what she does is absolutely incredible. What she says is what she just said is really, really true. It's about valuing or understanding that time actually is directly correlated to money. So if you can get the support and free up your time to be able to do whatever is within your zone of genius, then actually you'll make money to be able to support having a concierge. But what I found is that there are things that I can't do, not that I can't, but that it would take me hours to do what she does in 30 minutes. It would take me maybe 3-4 days, right? Because concierges come with contacts that I don't always have, right? And I'm not the kind of person that actually loves hopping on a phone and asking several different chefs about their food criteria, about can I come taste it? I just love waking up in the morning and being like, these are the things that I've arranged for you. These are the viewing. These are the tastings. Here's where you'll go. Why? Because I also have to run my business. So every time I'm on a phone talking to someone and researching every available restaurant, etc., it's more time that's taking me away from my business and the opportunity to actually make an income. So anyone that knows me knows that I am in favor of support. I'm in favor of coaches. I'm in favor of financial advisors. I'm in favor of assistants. I am in favor of support because of this. But Pascaline, I'm also really, really excited to hear. Can you give us one request that most of us would never think to ask a concierge? And also, how can a concierge be used to help someone grow and scale their business?
The most, I want to say silly, but really it wasn't silly because it was very serious that we had to do. But it sounds very simple, but you know, with Dubai, we're very limited in certain products. So just recently we had a request of a client saying, I want this brand of cigarettes. and they are not available in the UAE. They're not available in duty-free UAE. They're only available in Russia or in London. That's the closest. So they don't care if are we flying someone there or are we not. So they wanted these. So what we did was just to find out from our networks, is anybody in London, is anybody in Ukraine or in Russia who's coming to Dubai within 24 hours, we need these cigarettes. So after 48 hours, unfortunately it was 48 hours, we managed to get somebody that was coming in for these type of cigarette brands that we needed to get as soon as possible. So the packet of 10 was about 100 and something dirham, but the service charge of having to buy these and let the person fly here and deliver these to the person, because it's from the airport to the house and it's transportation, also service charge. It was 4 times the amount of the cigarette. But because we managed to get it done, and you can't order it online and all of that, because it was going to take a week or 2 weeks, we got to get it done. So it's something that just happened recently. That is the closest thing that I can remember. But yeah, you get such things. You don't question, because I think in a normal world it would be like, no, just choose another brand. What are you saying? But again, other people don't want to choose a different brand. They want a certain brand, and we get it done however way you want it. So yeah. You asked another question that I
Yes. My other question was, how can people use a concierge to build a business or to scale their business?
A lot of people really don't. I don't think they realize that they can get a lot of things done for themselves. Maybe because they're not doing it because they really don't have time. A concierge needs to know about everything under the sun, the most random things a concierge needs to know or needs to be able to do, right? So we do a lot of we have our visuals needs to be on a whole different level. Attention to detail needs to be on a whole different level. Because what we do is from concept again to execution. So I'm the type of person who, if you're telling me a concept, I need to be designing your logo, whether I'll be doing it in-house or I'll be getting a third person to get to do. But when I'm giving you this thing and saying, here is the concept that you were speaking about, I have it in paper, I need to really get to know, to be comfortable enough. So what I've realized, that how any other business can use a concierge is really just get to tell them your idea, because they work with different vendors. They work with different vendors to really get to bring your vision into life. Admin wise, they're pretty amazing at it. How they get it done, it's really up to them. But when it comes to turnaround time in terms of admin, because time is money for them. So that's the most crucial thing. You don't necessarily need, I want to say you don't necessarily need an executive or a personal assistant when you have a concierge, because a concierge is like an entire package, because they're very intuitive people. They are present. They do what an assistant can do, but on a higher scale. They do what a personal assistant can do, but on a higher scale. One of the things that I am somewhat working on is having to create a conciergerie for personal assistants, because I think somebody who is a personal assistant and has concierge skills is so needed. It's so needed, because it's the most difficult thing to find a personal assistant. It is a nightmare. This is why people, high net worth individuals, they will have a concierge and they will have a personal assistant, you know, and sometimes in most of the case, the way we find ourselves is personal assistants really think concierges are out to get their job, but we're not. We just want to work together to enhance the person's experience and everything. Because yet for you, you know him way more. So why not feed us what you know about this client and all their habits and everything else, so that we're able to enhance the experience, you know? But it's a very complicated relationship with concierge and personal assistant. So this is why I'm like, sooner or later, personal assistant or executive is going to need to have somewhat concierge skills, really having to need to leverage the networking way of building relationships. Because if you're networking and you get to be out there and everybody knows you or you know everybody, it makes your life much more easier, right? If your boss, as a PA, if your boss needs certain things, it doesn't require that much effort if you have a really great network. You can get stuff done, just even you by being at your desk, but it's the kind of relationships that you should be building intentionally. So yeah, this is I think why everybody needs to somewhat have a concierge, especially when you are a startup, because you need so much support when you're a startup. You need an intuitive person. You need somebody who really anticipates, because what you need is somebody who will make your job much more easier, so that you focus on things that requires focus, you know. These presentations, these having to really create a brand for your startup and things like that, you can work hand in hand with your concierge, as long as you make sure you're feeding them the information that they need to know. You explain to them what you want to do. You get to really understand what you want to build, your brand DNA, then it makes things a little bit easier. So yeah.
No, I love this so much. Personally, I will keep my VA, my virtual assistant, because as you said, like finding a virtual assistant or a personal assistant that you vibe with or that understands you, very rare. I think it's a blessing that I've had mine for 3 years. And
you keep them when it works. You really hold them tight when it works. If it's a good match, because you guys then grow together, because now it takes so much time having to understand each other, and it would be such a huge loss after having to understand each other. Then you're like, okay, no, we're going separate ways, because it's savage having to find a good match. So keep her.
It's hard. And also because sometimes I realize, even when I post things, that I'm not always finishing my thoughts. You know, I'm just like, do this. And somehow, because you've worked with this person for so long, they are understanding
thinking of
where it's going. So it's very, very challenging when you like, because I think that's exactly what you're saying. That like with a concierge, it's the same thing. What I realize is that I do need a concierge again, though. Because I think there's one thing. Concierge, what I see is the insane relationships you guys have, the network that you have that spans the globe, right? As opposed to assistants don't really need that, if we're truly honest. They don't have to be trained in that. They are trained in how do they deliver, do the work, admin stuff, all that, make your life easier. But I can see the power in that with the concierge, that you're like, hey, who's a great graphic designer for this? If I wanted to launch an event, how could I launch an event? Well, since I've already done it, right? And I've worked with you. But like, how do you do an event in a different country, and how do you get all the key players together? How do you launch an event in your own country? Who do you talk to? That is powerful and priceless, because the thing that we don't often realize as entrepreneurs is that building networks takes time. And if you're, especially if you're a startup, you don't have the time. You do either one. You're either building the networks or you're building the business, you know? And doing so it's like, so if you have someone on the team whose job it is to do all those things, it's so, so powerful. And I only just remember this as we were talking before the show, that wait a minute, I just remembered I don't have to do all this myself. Like if I have a vision, I can come to you and say, listen, I have a vision for some global expansion, help me. So very, very powerful. So I guess my second last question to you, Pascaline, is what have you seen as a difference between how do you manage personal finances and business finances? What is the difference in managing the two that you have found as an entrepreneur?
So with my personal finance, it's still a battle, right? Because I'm only dealing with this much per month, and so I need to somewhat make it work. Else, if I do get money from somewhere else, I still need to make it work. So that would be on me if I fail to plan for my own money. But if it's with business, the ship needs to get moving. So it's a thing of having to think on your feet, but also planning for 6 months or a year. What is going to be happening in the next couple of months? What is the most important here that the company needs in order for it to be sustainable, or in order for it to pay for salaries and things like that. So with the company, I had to see that it requires a whole lot of planning ahead. And what is the most crucial is having to really know, this is my money, this is the company's money. There's no way the company money is going to be rescuing you for anything. It took a couple of months to realize that, but yeah, there has to be some sort of separation. Whether the company is growing and all of that, it does not mean, unfortunately, that your finances are also growing, because the more the company grows, the more expenses of the company increases as well. So there is a whole tons of transparency with the team and all of it, so that, hey, are we in par? Is every money accounted for? What are we doing for summer, since it's a little bit more quiet? So yeah, it's a different story this side than what it is here.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I think also it sounds like you have become more open in business in terms of your creativity and up-leveling, in terms of expanding, and the same kind of creativity is in progress and needs to move into the personal side as well.
Yeah.
But
because I think with the personal, it's because it's my own journey, you know. I need to be, it's me having to make decisions for myself, and it's only impacting me. I think this is why it's a little bit difficult. If I don't feel like doing something for me, I don't need to. But on this hand, there are families involved, there are individuals involved, there are partners involved. So this is a different story. So I'm hoping, yes, this part will match up to it.
I love it though, and congratulations on launching your business. That's really, really awesome.
Thank you.
So awesome to see. So, Pascaline, how do people get hold of you? And well, I'll ask the final question, but how do people work with you? How do they get hold of you?
So people can get a hold of me. I'm gonna share my email. It's Pascaline, so it's Papa Alpha Sierra Charlie Alpha Lima India Nancy Echo .nkwe, Nancy Kilo Whiskey Echo at gmail.com. And then we can always exchange phone numbers at a later stage. But I'm also in the group of Wealthy Money as well as Pascaline Nkwe. And on how people can work with me, I am based in the Middle East. I can be your concierge when you come here in the Middle East. If you need support of a concierge somewhere else in different parts of the world, I'd be more than happy to do that as well. But obviously we need to get to hop on a call for that and get to understand the assignment. So I arrange travel as a concierge as well. And also I am soon launching my new business, which is conciergery for executive assistants and personal assistant, just for them to be supported, because I don't think anybody gets to really support PAs when they do join a new job. So all the basics of that and how they can show up for themselves and their bosses. I'll be doing that, and also having to do social media brand package just for coaches or startups if they want to be visible on socials. I do that as well. Yeah.
Mm. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing, Pascaline. This was absolutely, absolutely beautiful. Do you have any last words to share, lessons learned about money, about being in business, about living in the UAE that you want to impart with our lovely listeners?
Yeah, I really think having to live here opened up a whole different opened my eyes in terms of conciergery, or rather just how we network back in Africa. So it's much more challenging for that in Africa, because also concierge is it's a foreign concept. So I want to change that, so different suppliers, I would love to work with different suppliers. Anybody who's like, hey, I would love to bring you on to be in your ship so that you're able to use my services, they're also more than welcome to email me, because I don't have that much vendors or suppliers within Africa, because websites and all are not necessarily, you don't get to meet individuals that can deliver the very same on what the website says. So I want to create a very safe vendor golden list where people can say, hey, I know so and so, they have done this and this is what they are capable of, so that it gets easier to reach out when you go to different places. In Europe, it's much more easier, but when you move into Africa, you don't really get to find that. So it makes it much more harder for ourselves. So that's something I would love to concentrate on and build a network of trustful suppliers, even if it's startups, small businesses. It's just by word of mouth, not necessarily having to advertise, like a really safe, a really safe space with reliable suppliers. Yeah, that's it.
No, I get you. Wow. Thank you so much, Pascaline. And thank you so much, Money Magicians, for tuning in. I am open for one-on-one coaching. If you're listening to this and you're like, wow, I love this. Pascaline started off as a MoneyMagic student and when you're a MoneyMagic student, you get complimentary lifetime access to the bank account challenge and the meditations in the course. So if you're loving this and you're like, wow, what is this inner work that she keeps talking about? Check out the bank account challenge, wealthy-money.com/bank account, or else just look at the link below, check out the Money Magic course. And if you want to be supported at a higher level, I am currently running my Visibility Mastery coaching program. My focus for this year is all on visibility. I feel like the last 18 months of my life, I learned so much about being visible and showing up regardless. And I've been working with my clients to do the same. I've been seeing how that is a game changer, that you just show up as you. It's not about what the outside world is saying and doing. It's about what you believe about yourself and getting to the point of doing the work where you are so strong within yourself that the outside noise doesn't really deter you and you can keep going. So if this is resonating with you, hit me up. Just send me a DM or look in the description of this podcast. You'll find the link to my one-on-one coaching. Let's have a conversation. I'd love to support you to expand and scale your business. So until next time, thank you. And Pascaline, you were a joy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.